screen. So, hope you've been having a very good day. It's been an alright Wednesday here. Started a bit wet, a bit gloomy, a little bit of rain. But you know, I've had a good day. I went to the gym, I went to the swimming pool, I have started working on Seattle, City of Curses, for the Curseborn RPG. There you go. There's a nice drop, a reveal for anyone who's unaware. Seattle, City of Curses is the first, hopefully one of many, city source books for the Curseborn RPG, and I will be co-developing it with my good colleague Dixie Cochran. And yes, very much looking forward to that book. Got lots of very fun ideas, and I have no doubt the team will knock it out of the park, as they say. Now, as always, this is an AMA, which means you may ask me anything. It doesn't have to be related to RPGs. Despite the title, it doesn't need to be related to sci-fi, though that would certainly be appreciated. After all, one of the things I want to talk about is a book that I've been working on for Ghost Show Press. Now, I've contributed to all of Ghost Show Press's books so far, and they've released a few. Each one of them delves into critical exposés, deep dives, delves, and fun ponderings on lots and lots of your favourite movies, mainly in the horror and sci-fi genre, though one of my favourite ones to work on was Fantastic Flops, which covered lots and lots of genres, and I covered the movie Ishtar. These men are pawns. If you are familiar with that, congratulations, you got my reference. The current book, Subversive Sci-Fi Evolution, which, if you haven't backed it yet, is linked in the video description below. I wrote an essay diving into Total Recall. Recall. The 1990 Total Recall movie by Paul Verhoeven, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sharon Stone, Michael Ironside, a very small and rather insignificant appearance by Dean Norris, Hank Schrader in Breaking Bad, a woman with 3 breasts, and a dwarf with a big knife. Yes, there is a lot to recommend Total Recall 1990, and I wrote the essay on it. It was my pitch, because you see, I believe that Total Recall is probably the most undersung of Paul Verhoeven's sort of sci-fi satires. Oh, if you're watching this live, and I can see several of you are, please leave a thumbs up, leave a comment in the chat. If you do so, more people will find it. You know how it works. That's how the algorithm plays with us. Don't do it for me, do it so that we get people talking and tuning in. So if you're watching, and I know lots of you are right now, lots in my case is 8. Leave a thumbs up so that other people find the video. It is very much appreciated when people do that. Anyway, yes, I believe it's the most undersung when you compare it to RoboCop, which was widely celebrated, commodified, turned into toys, video games, all kinds of things at the time, somewhat ironically, I suppose. And Starship Troopers, which came out in 1997, it's about 10 years after RoboCop, I suppose, which is still getting appraised and misunderstood today. Somehow some people still think Starship Troopers isn't a satire, that it's aspirational in some way. It's bizarre. Total Recall sits in the middle of them and has never really received the same amount of, I guess, critical assessment, the same amount of praise. And come on, we're in double digits now. We need more thumbs up so more people can find the video. Thank you. But while I'm not going to make an argument that Arnie puts on heartbreaking performance in Total Recall, or indeed that the movie is terribly highbrow, I don't think many of Paul Verhoeven's most popular features are. I do think that Total Recall, however, is a masterpiece of late 80s, because it was released in 1990, special effects. Almost the last of a generation, in a way. It feels like an 80s movie, despite being released in 1990. Lots of matte paintings in the background, loads of miniatures in use. Of course, all those prosthetics, animatronics. You can picture, can't you, his eyeball and tongue bursting out as he's being decompressed, exposed to the void of Mars, among various other wonderful bits and pieces, the pulling the tracker out of his nose. And the fact that there is still speculation when it comes to Total Recall as to whether it's all a dream or not. I mean, this isn't Inception. This isn't a movie that is given to much in the way of deep thought, but there are still people who like to debate, like in The Thing. Was MacReady or Childs infected at the end? Were they both? Does it mean something to do with the fact that they were drinking booze at the end? Did MacReady have his finger on the trigger of the flamethrower? All that nonsense. Some people still like to think, was Quaid actually going through a schizoid episode brought on by a hemorrhage after being put into the recall machine? Is it all a fantasy, or is it reality? And I don't think that's the most important thing to discuss in the movie or about the movie. It's interesting how people like to talk about it. In short, I spent far too many words talking about Total Recall, and the book itself, Subversive Sci-Fi Evolution, which is on Kickstarter right now, hasn't funded yet, but I really hope it does. Covers all kinds of movies. I saw we've got an essay about Masters of the Universe in there, which I'm looking forward to reading. So yeah, do check it out. Do check it out if you haven't. We've got lots of fantastic content for you to read up on if you're a fan of science fiction. So, I see we have some questions, and we also have 14 live viewers, so, give us a thumbs up. Leave a like on the video. It'll help more people find it. You've all got the function to do it, so do it. DJ Kehoe says, awesome, I'm finally back seeing this live. Curseborn question, how does a syringe work? A syringe worth of blood work for the hungry? Does it work as a meal instead of biting someone? Sure. If that's what you want to do for your character, I'd have no issue with it. Good luck finding somewhere where you can draw a syringe worth of blood, humanely. Obviously, you may be one of these people with access to a blood bank. Good for you. Just means someone's not going to get blood when they require it. Maybe you're someone who goes around stalking people with a syringe and drawing their blood that way. Maybe you pretend to be a doctor. I don't think there's anything less monstrous about stealing blood in a syringe and drinking it that way than biting someone, as long as you're doing it for the sake of the story and not to get around your damnation. Part of the point of the game is that your characters are, in their own way, suffering when you choose for them to be. If you try and cheat your way out of it, then why are you playing? I've often thought the same thing about people that when they play Nosferatu in Vampire, the Masquerade specifically, I guess prior to 5th edition, they would immediately put 3 dots in obfuscate so they could adopt Mask of 1,000 Faces and nullify their clan curse. Making me think, well, why are you playing a Nosferatu? You could just play an average vampire with 1 or 2 and not have to spend all your discipline dots. So yeah. The secret salubri, who has to act in every way like a Toreador. You might as well at that point just be playing guilty Toreador. Sorry, I know I'm very cynical when it comes to vampire, but as my recent video showed, I am back to running vampire. I've currently got 2 chronicles starting up on my Discord that you can access via my Patreon, and I am running a Vampire the Dark Ages chronicle for the Ticking Time Bob YouTube channel, starting, I think, this weekend. The first one should go up with any luck. Hello, Corbin. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? We're caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. That's the question, really, isn't it? Tim's Totality says, curious, what is the state of White Wolf right now? White Wolf is a separate arm, I guess, a subsidiary, if you like, of Paradox Interactive. They oversee all of the World of Darkness brands and Chronicles of Darkness and Exalted, though of course there's nothing being made for Chronicles of Darkness, and Exalted is being published by Onyx Path, while World of Darkness is being published by Renegade. But White Wolf also oversee the video games, the board games, the card games. They have approval. So if you want to make something for the World of Darkness, you need to get in touch with the White Wolf team, present them with your business plan, get their approval, and then you're away. So in theory, right now, it's never been a better time to be a third-party producer with a board or card game or RPG in mind. And if you want to pitch it to White Wolf, you can. They're not going to be the ones making it. They're going to be the ones who approve it. And of course, they'll be taking a cut because they own the license. So yeah, that's the state of White Wolf right now. Corbin says, as a developer, how do you make each game you work on unique from each other, especially if you have similar themes? Well, that's a very good question. How do you make games unique? You can do it mechanically, you can do it in setting. Masquerade and Requiem are a very good example of this, and Curseborn for that matter. How do you present vampires in 3 different ways? You know, it can be tricky. And Masquerade and Requiem ran into this problem with first edition Requiem, with vampires feeling too similar to vampires in Masquerade, to the point that it didn't feel at all like an evolution. Unlike Subversive Sci-Fi Evolution, which is currently on Kickstarter and I'd love people to back. From my view, you need something thematic that sets the games apart. Curseborn's greatest thematic difference, in my view, from the World and Chronicles of Darkness, is its connection to family, if anything. Its connection to family and its relative openness. Not in the sense that it's free of metaplot, do what you like. In the sense that the world can tolerate you and your curses, because they can make sense of it, they can rationalize it, they can hand-wave it. And the family theme, while present in things like clans, in Vampire, was very rarely at the forefront. You might play an all Tremere game or an all Giovanni game where family politicking was significant, but I never encountered many people who are deeply involved in the clan politics of Clan Bruja, or Clan Toreador, or Clan Malkavian. In fact, some of them, in their clan write-ups, pretty much eschewed such things. Said, this clan has no framework, has no structure, has no system of respect. They're not all Ventru. Whereas in Curseborn, family is a significant driving force. Their expectations of you, the obligations you have to them, the resentments you build, and the gratitude that you have, because maybe they're the ones who plucked you out of the ashes. And ultimately, the deep-seated resentment that goes toward the oldest of your family, because it's by and large likely that you have your curse because of them. You probably didn't choose to have it. That's not to say you didn't take actions that led you to it, but I think Curseborn has a bit of a fate element, like Scion, where no matter what decision you made, you were doomed because of the sins of your ancestor. That is very different, I think, than Vampire, let's say. You can find it in Masquerade, occasionally, with things like the Giovanni. You were always doomed to become a vampire because you were chosen before birth, you know? It's not really present in Requiem. Another way of doing it is, because I'm working on Seattle, City of Curses, right now, something like domains in Vampire, the Masquerade, and Requiem. In Masquerade and Requiem, they're very much shaped not only to skew to be a mirror darkly of our world, but also they're shaped by whichever clans, whichever covenants, whichever sects are dominant. In Curseborn, one of the things you'll find with Seattle is how much the liminalities are shaped by the kind of city you're in, the history of that city, and how those liminalities will be markedly different to the liminalities in somewhere like Vegas or LA or New York. And that liminalities can affect the ways normal people develop attitudes and behaviors, beliefs. So perhaps a lot of the people in New York are so abrasive because there is a supernatural influence in a powerful liminal state who is just subtly changing everyone within it. And so the liminal verse of a city is almost as important as the actual city that you live in. Now, what that can mean for different cities with particularly strong characters is, I think, really interesting for an RPG. It's very interesting for Curseborn, and it isn't really something we explored in the World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness. And as I've mentioned many, many times, Curseborn is a game we have wanted to make on its path for many years. We've had all of these ideas. And when you read the making of Curseborn, which will be coming out, you might be able to see some of those formative ideas or the discussions that went around them. I'm not sure what Dixie and Travis are adding to it, and I'm a bit scared of that. But you'll be able to see, with any luck, how we were storing these ideas for years and years and years, because they wouldn't have worked in the world of Chronicles of Darkness, but they do work in Curseborn. And Curseborn makes for a game that we had total creative freedom to do what we wanted with, whereas World and Chronicles was far more restrictive, partly because of history, partly because of the licensor. They wanted certain things or didn't want other things. So yeah, that's a long answer. Mr. said, would hyping the video get eyes on it? Sure, hype it. I don't know what that means. Mr. says, will there be more unboxing videos in the future? What do you want unboxed, Mr.? If you want something unboxed, I'll unbox it for you. Corbin wants to know, what system does Subversive Sci-Fi use? It isn't an RPG. Not everything I work on is an RPG, Corbin. Good God. It's a collection of essays, of critical reviews, appraisals, deep dives, explorations, interviews about all of the movies that are within it. If you go over to the Kickstarter page, which I've linked in the video description, you can see the list, a massive list of movies we've got in there, and some fantastic authors who have contributed to it, including myself. That was fantastic. I certainly stand among them. And yeah, my contribution is Total Recall, which I was able to do some nice digging into not that long ago. I think I submitted the essay about a month ago. Okay. Performance check says, I know you took a big break from World of Darkness, but glad to hear you're back to Vampire. Your work has inspired me to run Vampire. Through your influence, my current game is easily the best I've run. Thank you very much. You have succeeded on your performance check. You may have whatever you want. That was a critical hit. That is a very, very nice thing to say. And I mean that. I genuinely mean that. I am someone, I've said it before, I don't suffer imposter syndrome. I don't doubt that I can do my job. I've been doing it for long enough now. And I'm not someone who suffers anxiety. I don't seek out validation. I don't ask people to tell me what they think of my work. And I appreciate that's a very arrogant, egotistical place to be in, but it's also a position of self-confidence. Why do I say all of this? Well, it means when I do see such nice words from people like you, Performance Check, I know you mean them. And it's a meaningful thing to say, and it genuinely makes me feel good about myself. So thank you very much for saying it. Megavi says, have you ever looked into the solo journaling game 1000-Year-Old Vampire? I haven't. And I know it's very, very good. There's a lot of people I know who love it, who absolutely love it, and have played it more than once. The only reason I've not is because I've never been attracted to solo RPGing or solo journaling. I have so many gaming groups, 12 now I think, a month, that I have no real need or desire to spend even more time gaming. I spend enough time gaming and I enjoy it, believe me. It does not feel like a burden. It is a blessing that I get to run for so many people and learn so many games. That's one of the things I never tell people. One of the greatest blessings of being able to run so many things and having the opportunity to is I get to learn all these systems, I get to learn all these settings, I get to tell new stories, find out my new characters, and all of that is like a feedback loop, a good one, because it allows me to use bits and pieces for my games, my writing. It allows me to then write to companies and say, I've been running this, I really love it. If there's space for a writer on one of your games, please let me know. And I've been hired by doing that. So it all works in the end. Are there plans for a long-form Curseborn campaign on your channel, asks Performance Check. Good question. No, not right now. I don't really upload actual plays very often. I did for the run-up to the Curseborn Kickstarter. I don't find they compel viewers, as a general rule, longer than the first session. Character creation seems to be where most people tune in and then drop off. If there's enough demand for it, I might. But yeah, there's no plans right now. Corbin says, a minor issue I have with the Dead families is that the core Dead feature abilities don't differentiate between each family, like feeding tricks for hungry. Do you think a Dead book might add that? I don't think so. I think we're quite happy with how the Dead are. The lineages don't need to be structured the same way. In fact, I would say that the feeding tricks that the hungry have is very distinct from, for example, the wild forms that the primal have. But I get what you're saying. The Dead have plenty of distinction in the types of family they are, the structure behind each family, the narrative behind each family as well. So yeah, I think there's enough there to make them distinct from each other. Certainly I've not met someone playing a Maven like a Zed, or a Zed like a Fury, or a Fury like a Shade. So yeah, I get your point, but I do not think we're going to suddenly start adding, at this point, mechanical distinctions between the families beyond what we already have, unless it's something we start looking at for higher entanglement play. But I'm already looking into the next tiers of play for Curseborn, and right now it's not on my agenda to start separating the dead families even more. I appreciate you raising that, though. Mark says, at this point in history, subversive sci-fi just means it's actually creative. Quite right, that's why Masters of the Universe is included in that book of essays, Mark. Voidberg says, hello from across the Atlantic. With all the Curseborn, I'm getting the chance to try it next week. Looking forward. Thank you for this RPG creation. Thank you so much, Voidberg Illusion. I hope you have checked out the player's guide as well. We've just hit our second stretch goal. I hope to hit many, many more. John Walsh says, I watched the Apple 1980 Canon films. It's mentioned in the book. It's hilarious with singing and dancing. The Apple, yes. I watched that first time when I was at college studying drama and theatre studies. And The Apple is a very odd musical. There are parts of it that are genuinely fantastic. And in a better movie, I think, would have stood the test of time. But there's a really good example of a real lack of quality in the Apple in the song Show Business. I think it's called Show Business. It starts off strong. It starts off like a Pet Shop Boys song. You know, it's got a build-up, it's got a beat, it's got a bit of spoken word bit, and then it gets into the chorus. And it is the most ramshackle, poor audio quality live performance that you've ever encountered in a musical, and it immediately makes me go, oh, God. I really wanted to perform The Apple when I was studying drama and theatre studies, and no one else wanted. I think there is a good musical in there. I think you just need to get a better audio mixer and production team and practically everything else. I don't think the movie on its own is terrible. There's just a lot of terrible parts to it. So yeah, it looks like everyone's talking about The Apple right now. We've got it on bootleg, Betamax, Serpentine Muse. Never thought that they'd see The Apple mentioned in the wild. LA by Night left a big hole, says Mark Wolf. We need more in-person film World of Darkness campaigns. Well, if someone wants to throw thousands of dollars or pounds at me to host that, I will. But I don't think I could run a game like LA by Night. So I mentioned in my Returning to the World of Darkness video that went up yesterday, I really struggle. It's funny because I obviously developed the They Came From games, or co-developed some of them. And I obviously have a sense of humor and appreciate a sense of humor in my games. But when World of Darkness is being displayed for others, I get why it needs to be entertaining, because you want to compel people, you want them to tune in, you want them to have fun. But my style does not work for that. I kill too many characters, I put in too many dreadful, if not horrific, moments, because that's my preference for the World of Darkness. Not being edgy necessarily, but certainly being cruel at times. My big issue with LA by Night was always the survivability of the characters. The characters in it seem to survive an inordinate amount of moments that really broke me from the story, if that makes sense. Serpentine Muse saw The Apple at a midnight movie screening in Santa Monica. John Walsh says, yeah, watching it once is good enough. The signing and dancing in the sci-fi setting is hilarious. I highly recommend the doc Electric Boogaloo, History of Canon Films. I've seen it. It is very, very good. And thank you for contributing to the Kickstarter, John Walsh. Subversive Sci-Fi Evolution needs your help. It has not hit funding yet, but if even 5 of you watching right now get on board and help back it, it doesn't have a high funding target. That would help a huge measure. So, let's see what I can say before needing to head off and run this game. Anonymous says, could you describe in your own words what makes the higher entanglement editions of Curseborn different from the core game? No, because they're not written yet, but I have certain ideas in mind, and they will make the game feel distinct without making the previous version redundant. This isn't, what we're not intending on doing, this isn't Vampire, this isn't Neonates, Ancillae, and Elders. This isn't Scion, it's not going hero, demigod, god. we're going to be looking at a different aspect of Curseborn with the next tier of entanglement. You'll still be able to play your previous characters, your powers will go up, you'll get access to new advances and so on, but there will be more to it than just power scaling. I think that's very boring. John Walsh liked the start and middle of Alien Earth, but the ending, I kind of feel the same. I didn't feel that disappointed by the end of Alien Earth, because I appreciated the story, even if it didn't end on a bang, and it leaves it open for a sequel, and I hope that there will be one. Performance check says, I don't feel LA by Night represents Vic Vampire well at all. See, I agree with you from a mood perspective, but I disagree with you from a consumer perspective, because a lot of people watch LA by Night to the point that there are plushies of Jason Carl that you can now buy, set fire to, do what you like with, stick needles in. Total Recall 1990, watched that one in Manila. In 1991, the hooker with 3 boobs stood out. Yes, indeed. Makes me wish I had 3 hands. Any plans for Curseborn novels or light novels, asks Mark Wolf. Yeah, we've got a fiction anthology coming out very soon for Curseborn, actually. And I didn't find Alien Earth slow at all, Mark. I thought it was just the right pace. I just don't think it necessarily nailed the ending, while at the same time, I don't know what ending I would have liked to see. It's one of those awkward things where I got to the end of the show and felt like, well, I don't know what I wanted, but it probably wasn't that. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. If anyone here has backed Curseborn, of course, it is out. You can get the backer PDF immediately. It has almost all of the art. It is completely playable. We're just collecting feedback until the end of this week on Curseborn. So if you back it, even now, you can get the PDF immediately and start playing it. The Curseborn Player's Guide offers more families, it offers more spells, more edges, it allows you to play hunters, known as Venators, orphans, so familyless accursed. There's lots more lore material, loads of stuff in the Curseborn Player's Guide. And if you like sci-fi, horror films and similar, check out Subversive Sci-Fi Evolution. It is linked in the video description below. We need more backers. I would love to see 3 or 4 of you hop on board. That is a very low cost of entry, that one, and we all worked our tails off with our deep dives into these various movies with, as I say, lots of critical analysis, lots of fun discussion, interviews and such. So if you are a fan of any of the movies or curious about any of the movies listed on the Sci-Fi Subversive Sci-Fi Evolution Kickstarter, just head on over. It's linked in the video description. I would love it if you checked it out and gave us your help. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be seeing you next time.